Will we see an early retirement from current F1 champion and heir apparent to the title of being the greatest driver the sport has ever seen, Max Verstappen? Over the past month, he has been leaving breadcrumbs that hint at him leaving the sport early, and in a recent sit-down, he elaborated on how he currently feels about Formula 1 and his plans after he hangs it up. And his statements have left his team and fans of the sport a little worried. Let's talk about it. Max Verstappen has expressed his enjoyment of racing and winning, as well as the financial rewards that come with it, but he may find himself questioning whether Formula 1 provides a fulfilling life. This is due to concerns about the increasingly packed schedule and the various experimental formats, such as the recently introduced sprint format being trialed in Baku this weekend. Verstappen said, "I always said that even if there won't be any more sprint races, if we keep expanding the calendar and the whole weekend is that long, at one point you question yourself, is it worth it? I do like racing, I do like winning. I know that, of course, there's the salary and everything, and you have a good life. But is it actually a good life? I think sometimes you get to a point in your career where maybe you want to do other stuff. I have the contract until the end of 2028, and then we'll review again, but I do feel that if it's getting at one point too much, then it's time for a change." The double champion has always been clear that he doesn't particularly enjoy the sprint weekends, which involve a shorter race on Saturdays in addition to the Grand Prix, and instead prefers Formula 1's traditional approach. However, when combined with the 4-day weekends and a record-breaking 23 races on the calendar this year, with the potential for even longer schedules in the future, Verstappen finds himself contemplating his future in the sport, despite expectations that he should be thoroughly enjoying it. He admitted to struggling to envision what will happen beyond 2028, and recognized that some may not understand his ambivalence towards a long-term career in F1. He went on to say, "It depends on how competitive the car is in that last season as well, and maybe also it depends on the opportunities you have around Formula 1, or what you're already doing outside of Formula 1 at the time. So at the moment, it's a bit difficult to imagine what's going to happen past 2028. This sounds very weird for people from the outside, because they're like, "Oh, you're in Formula 1, you're winning." And probably, I would have said the same when I was in their position. But once you're in it, it's not always how it looks like, or how people think your life is. I mean, yes, it's great. It's amazing, and I can do a lot of things. I'm very independent, but there is always a limit to certain things." Having controversially won against Lewis Hamilton in 2021, and then dominating the last season, Verstappen has claimed the title for the last 2 years, and is currently on track for his 3rd championship in 2023. With Red Bull's impressive performance, it appears that they could dominate Formula 1 for the next few years, at least until 2026, when a new set of rules are anticipated to be introduced. Verstappen's reported salary is estimated to be between 40 to 50 million euros, and he has made it clear that he is committed to Red Bull until the end of his current contract. However, he has also expressed that he is not driven by the desire to break Hamilton's Formula 1 records. He said, "No, I'm not interested in winning 7 or 8 titles. If you have the car to do it, great, but I am already happy, so it's okay. It's difficult to say when you've never had a break, right? I will always be on the grid until the end of 2028. I'm still very young, but I always said that I also want to do other kinds of competitions, a bit like what Fernando did. But also, when you have been, let's say, winning a lot, or at least driving at the front, it needs to also be worth it to come back. Because, if you then come back and you don't really have a chance of winning, it's probably even harder to motivate yourself day in, day out, to travel all over the world and not spend time with family, friends, and doing other things. Some people just love racing, and that's the only thing they know, and the only thing they want to do. I am probably a bit more in the middle. I mean, I do love racing, but I also want to do other kinds of racing, and then you can't combine the two, or set up other kinds of stuff." Verstappen stated that, aside from Formula 1, he has other racing aspirations that he would like to pursue. He went into detail about what type of racing he wanted to get involved with specifically, saying, "Endurance eventually. Even if it's not with my dad, we'll see. I also have the passion of maybe setting up my own team and stuff, so there's a lot of things I would like to do outside of just driving myself. I like watching IndyCar. I think there are a lot of great drivers in there, and also people I raced against, so I have a good connection with them, and I like seeing them do well. But me, driving the Indy 500? Absolutely not. I might go there and watch, but not race. Now if Verstappen does decide to exit the sport prematurely, there might be at least one party pleased with it. Daniil Kvyat, former Red Bull driver, has been making headlines recently for his comments against his old team. And on the Track Limits podcast, he made these rather sharp comments while talking about how he was treated during his time under Christian Horner. He said, "From Toro Rosso to Red Bull. Not easy, of course. It's a different F1 team. The top and the midfield has a different mentality. Also, very difficult times for the team. Everyone was very stressed. It was the opposite of now. Now they have a dominant car. At the time, it was one of their worst cars. Christian wasn't happy. Helmut wasn't happy. So, they were difficult times at Red Bull. So to basically help them through their times, and then they get rid of you. But whatever, it was still a great chapter." He also made remarks that seemed to take a jab at former Red Bull teammate Daniel Ricciardo's current situation, saying, "Daniel Ricciardo at the time was like a big superstar, and when I came into the team, he just beat Vettel, so there was a lot of hype around him in the team and everywhere. So everyone was like, yeah, he's the man to beat now. He's probably the best driver on the grid right now." That's what they were telling me. So for me, it was huge. Now it's different, of course, but back then, he was top-notch. The reserve driver position at Red Bull, with its lower stakes, is providing Ricciardo with an opportunity to reset and regain his confidence after setbacks. Crucially, the break is allowing him to determine whether he genuinely desires to return to Formula 1 on a full-time basis. While he is enjoying the benefits of his newfound freedom, he is still eager to return to his winning form. Ricciardo told The Athletic, "Deep down, I know I'm not done. I've never won a world championship, but for a big part of my career, I was at least fighting for wins or podiums. I always considered myself as good, if not better, than everyone else." After moving back to Red Bull from McLaren, Ricciardo had to adapt his driving technique to handle the challenging McLaren vehicle, which resulted in him not being able to perform as well with the Red Bull car as he did before. When asked to comment about Ricciardo's driving style difference, Horner said, "It was clear when he came back, he'd picked up some habits that we didn't recognize as the Daniel that had left us." Despite the challenges he faced, Ricciardo was resolute in his determination to regain his previous form. While most drivers don't particularly enjoy spending long hours in simulator sessions, completing virtual laps to fine-tune the car's settings and adjust to new advancements, these sessions became the highlights of Ricciardo's weeks and reinforced his eagerness to make a comeback. Over the following 2 months, the rate of his improvement was steep, with his performance being described by Horner as much more reminiscent of the Daniel we knew. Ricciardo spoke about the progress he made since, saying, "I don't want to say it too confidently, because it is just a sim, but it was really encouraging. It was a sigh of relief as well for me, that I can still do it, and in the right environment, I can kind of get back to my old self." So will Daniel Ricciardo earn his stripes and emerge out of the reserve driver role soon? If Max Verstappen's love for the sport spirals down further, it may very well be a possibility. But what do you think? Is Max threatening early retirement just to get rid of the current sprint race format? Or does he not care about Formula 1 anymore? Tell us what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell for the hottest F1 news.